Delighted to be talking with the one, the only, the inimitable, I think that's a word, Mr. Todd McFarlane. Mr. McFarlane, may I call you Mr. McFarlane, Todd? What would
Just
you
call
prefer?
me Todd. I'll call you Jason. You call me Todd. It'd be a good have a good conversation.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, as an English teacher and a literacy person, I'm delighted to report that the kids know Spawn well. When I mention the name Todd McFarlane or Spawn, it still goes over and you can see faces lighting up in the room. So, just curious what it feels like at this point to have that kind of impact across generations.
In honesty, Jason, I think the big piece of that is just longevity, right?
Hmm.
Like when most of the things that I was aware of when I was growing up had been in my life the whole time, whether I sponsored it or I liked it or I was interested in it. It was usually stuff that because it just swirls around you, right? Through attrition, you pick up information about stuff. So, given that Spawn's been around now for over 30 years, that would mean anybody that's 30 or younger has never lived on a planet that hasn't had the word. Doesn't mean you have to know it, doesn't mean you have to understand it or anything, but the word has been there swirling around, right? So look at I haven't read one single article ever about the Kardashians, and yet I know they exist. So so sometimes attrition of just a lot. You can sort of get there, and then if you've got the other piece that goes with it, where you can from time to time deliver some quality to sort of the longevity, then sometimes you can catch people's attention even grander. So,
Yeah, yeah, lovely. And I love the universe that you've crafted. And I'm curious, we were talking writing and editing before I hit record. I know that you keep busy. Uh, what do you keep in mind with your original vision? I read this week, Bloodletter, and so I know that the universe continues to expand.
okay, so let's. I don't know who's going to be listening to this, so let's just do a quick little primer
Hmm.
of of my career real quick, right? So I broke into comic books right out of college, right? I played college baseball, was on scholarship there, thought I was going to be a ball player. Broke into Marvel comic books at sort of the mailroom level. And within 3, 4 months, the book I was working on, 10 pages of a backup story of a book that not a lot of people knew of, um, they canceled the book. And so after years of trying to break in, I was unemployed 4 months into it, started knocking on the doors of everybody that I had gotten rejection letters from, but they were kind in their constructive criticism. And I ended up picking up a job, full-time job at DC. So I did DC and Marvel, and usually what ends up happening, you sort of bump back and forth between those two. Somewhere along the line, your promotions, I got to tell you, isn't usually money. They don't usually give you money. They give you bigger characters. So eventually, I got to do a little bit of Batman, Hulk, and then really the one that put me on the map was Spider-Man. At which point, when I took it over with David Michelinie, the writer, it was selling about number 21, I think, when they gave it to us. And we took it all the way up to the top, right? They just said, hey, try some new tricks because this thing's not working. Um, and so we got there to the point that eventually they gave me my own books. I got to write. Became a writer as well as an artist. That book set record, but um, and along the way, I co-created a character named Venom. They've made a few movies about him and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
but then I just got disenchanted, and so did a handful of others that were some of the top people at Marvel at that time, and so we left and started our own company, Image Comics. So everybody knows Marvel and DC, right? Those are a given. But if you ask the next logical question, well, who's third? That's us, right? Image Comic had been third for all 30 years that we've been in existence, right? And the original partner that I had, Rob Liefeld, he created Deadpool. One of the other ones was doing the Guardians of the Galaxy. Later on, we started Image. We got brought some new partners in. The creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, is one of our partners now. So we've got a good boost of it. But what ended up happening, two things happened when we started Image. One, we opened up the door to all creators to come and do their books, and we don't own any of it. The creators own everything, which was basically we came up with a deal originally for ourselves, the original six, and then we gave it to everybody else, the exact same deal as the owners. And but along the way, I created a character, Spawn, who I had created in high school, and it turned, besides the comic books, it turned into like TVs and movies and all those other things that all just open up other doors and possibilities. So that I can't read a lick of music, but I have a Grammy Award. Now, I'm not saying that bragging. I'm saying that this is the oddness of, if you just do something, you never know where the final sort of path is going to be. So how does a
Mhm.
kid who knows nothing about music end up with a Grammy Award? The answer is, I created Spawn. I go work for Marvel. We start Image Comics. I do Spawn. It's a huge success. HBO decides to do a TV show, and it was an animated show. And while that animated show was on, then Eddie Vedder of a band called Pearl Jam decided, man, he was watching it. He went, I now know how to do our next music video. We'll do animation. So we did the evolution with the Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, and we got nominated, didn't win, but then the next year we did another one with Korn, and we won as for best music video. So
Mhm.
that's how you find. There's always, I got to tell you, there's always a back door, right? So I found the back door that now I know nothing about music, and yet I got a prestigious music award, which is to me the funny part, and the piece that I'm always trying to talk to people, the new generation coming up, that of just try. You never know when you're going to catch some odd angle and some odd break that's there. So and then along the way I started my own toy company, and we've done thousands and thousands of figures with literally hundreds of different brands over the years. So that's all that because I liked comic books, right? So that wasn't for bragging, whatever. It was just to say I just wanted to be a penciler in comic books over here, and it went, and all these other paths came up over here. I think that's important for kids to hear, right?
Mhm.
You too can do it. You just got to try at the beginning. You got to try over here before you can get any of this over here.
Great message. Absolutely. I was going to ask about the toys because I do have a whole room in this house of action figures with your name on them.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I got lots of
yeah.
them. Let me see if I got my box here.
Yes, lovely stuff. Yeah,
Lex Luthor from the Superman movie coming up. Yeah.
yeah. But what do you keep in mind as far as the vision with bringing characters to life that way? Because they're very cool. When I was growing up, they were, 3 inches tall, which was fine, and I could use imagination, but yours are much more sculpted and detailed.
So here's what I'll say, and I think that this has some use in many 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 other sort of disciplines. I get nervous and a little bit weary when somebody comes up to me and says that they've got something that's completely original. And the reason I say that is because if you try to do something that's wholly original, then you have to educate the world to now know what to do with that original thing. So people go, oh no, 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 I got this new way of reading comic books, right? But people have been doing it a certain way, So now you got to tell them and educate them and give them the reasons why they need to change their habit, right? That takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. I'll tell you what the faster, shorter way to make an impact is. Over here, where everybody just sort of reads comic books or whatever it is you're talking about, I'm talking about a million ideas. Just do it better. Just do it better. That's it. And if you do it better, people will give you a lot of credit. So you don't have to invent anything. You have to just take what people are already consuming and build a better mousetrap of it, right? So the example
Mhm.
I've used many times is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs came along and he stood up on stage and he said, "Hey, we're Apple and we're going to get into the telephone business." And they went, "Steve, everybody's got a phone. Like you're late to the party." Yeah. But ours does email. So do theirs. No, but and you can download music and do text. Yeah, so do theirs. And you can browse the internet. So do theirs. And then he added the piece. Yeah, but when they do a text, they touch buttons, and
Mhm.
you touch glass. On mine, you touch glass. That was it. That was it. That was it. He did two things: touch glass. Everything else on that phone did exactly the exact same thing as everybody else prior to him, and he did the zoom pinch. Done. Done. And bam, he to people think that he revolutionized it. What are you talking about? He was late. He just added two sexy components to what was already there. That's what I'm saying. That's the faster, easier way to get there. Is to just go, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing this? Why don't they add that one piece to that invention that I use every day? And you may have a million, if not $1 billion idea in your brain right now. So
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, great example. And uh, taking it back to comics, I do a lot with the complexity of comics. I use comics in class, but they're also fun and cool. So as somebody that created this landmark character in high school and has continued to be involved in comics and a comics reader, anything you'd like to say about what makes comics engaging, complex, or any other adjective you would like to throw on them?
I think what puts them in their kind of corner, again, not exclusively, but puts them in the corner is the combination of words and pictures, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
so when you go to a movie, it's mostly all visual. Obviously, you've got an audio component to it. When you read a book is all words, right? But it's that combination that to get the story right, you have to put unmoving pictures, still pictures, with the language, and that's the combo, right? So it's a different version than the way we consume other entertainment, whether it's video games or music or whatever else. So that combo, I believe, Jason, will be around forever, right? The question, the only the only real big question is as time goes by, what's the delivery mechanism, right? So you put it on paper, okay, maybe we go digital, and then maybe we put it on the side of blimp someday, and that's how people read combo. Who cares how you get it? It's the combo of the words and the pictures. That's sort of the bedrock of comic books.
Certainly hooked me as a young reader too.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, Jason, that reading is important from a young age all the way up. As a matter of fact, the sooner you start, the better the stats say, the better you're going to be throughout your life. Just like any other thing, like math or you know staying in shape and being physical, right? The sooner you begin that process, that discipline, the better it is. I got to tell you, I hate it when I hear a 17-year-old go, I'm not good at math, right? It's frustrating to me because especially in math, because math is there it's not subjective, right? Two plus two will always be four. So
Mhm.
it's just you don't want to learn math, and it's weird because if there's one thing that you're going to consume for the rest of your life is numbers, right? I don't care whether it's your job, buying stuff. negotiating with things, read like numbers, your budget of whether you're in debt, how much money you got in the bank, everything is predicated around numbers. Seems weird. You don't want to pay attention to this thing that's going to be in your life forever. Um, but with the young kids that I've run into, I just like as I said at the beginning, any way you can read, and you know that even from a young age, who cares? Who cares how you get into the reading? I know there are people
Hmm.
that sit there and go, "Oh, they should be reading a book." Well, if they're not reading a book and they read a comic book, it's still reading, right?
Hmm.
There was years ago. You look like you're old enough to remember. There was years ago they did a big ad that says "Got Milk," right?
Yeah.
Remember the
Uh-huh.
Got Milk, right? They had the white mustache and it's like drink milk. And then they did one years and years later. They did one, and it said Got Milk, but the guy had a chocolate milk mustache and glass, and a bunch of people went crazy. Like chocolate milk, it's got sugar in it and it's got everything and it's terrible. And essentially, the health expert said, "Are you asking if milk is better than chocolate milk?" Yes, definitely yes. Are you asking if chocolate milk is better than no milk? We'd rather have them drink chocolate milk because at least there's some milk there, right? Stop
Hmm.
being pure. It might be the step to get there. So stop worrying. When I was younger, like reading comic books, they thought was going to sort of spoil your mind. And the answer is they're reading. They're reading words. This is a plus. Stop it. Stop being a Puritan. So.
Agreed. Absolutely. Um, and you mentioned that numerical sense as well. I imagine you use both. I imagine as uh, McFarlane Productions is a massive endeavor that these are skills you're using every day.
Well, let me just go back to math and digress a little bit. Here's where I liked math because no matter how long my hair was, or how many tattoos I had, or how many piercings I had, if I got the math right, my teacher had to give me the mark, right?
Mhm.
In my other classes that were subjective, especially English, no, if they didn't like you, I got to tell you, if they didn't like you, they didn't give it. Look, I did that thing that you've heard about before because I was friends with everybody. I switched papers with the A student with mine, and I
Mhm.
used their paper. They used mine. I had never gotten better than a C. They got an A with my paper with their name on it, and I got a C with their paper with my name on it. So but math, this is why in the Olympics I like the sort of skills that are clock driven because the clock doesn't lie and it doesn't have an emotion to it and it doesn't say, oh, those two skaters were better than those two skaters. You
Mhm.
either beat the time or you didn't. Done. Right? That's it. Either better or fast or slower. That's it. Done. Right? So anything that was non-subjective, I was like, I went into it, which seems weird given that, I also did art, which I knew was completely subjective, right? The definition of art is I don't know what art is, but I know what I like, which is everybody's entitled to their view of what they like art wise, and they should be granted the respect of having that opinion. So,
Yeah, yeah. I would like to think that I would have given you a fair grade on your paper. Just putting that in there.
um, not if you knew my attitude, my personality, so I could drive people crazy. I was pretty rambunctious, so we'll leave it at that word. Yeah.
Well, I have one more official question and then perhaps a bonus if you have time.
Yeah, let's
I always do like to give space for folks to share, what's ahead, what's on the creative horizon. So I know you were holding up action figures just a bit ago to go with James Gunn's Superman, but anything else that you'd like to mention for folks to check out?
yeah, here's the thing. I'm in a bit of a rut as you get older, right? So all the enthusiasm is like watching the young people because they're like, oh man, they're just starting and they're going to do crazy stuff. But yeah, I've got the toy company. We do a crazy amount of toys that we put out with big brands, medium small brand. I've been doing that for 30 years, McFarlane Toys. So if you're curious, you can go to, either McFarlane.com or Spawn.com. You can see all the goofy stuff we do. And then, I mean, the comic book's been doing that for 40 years. That's what led to all of it, right? Just that first job in the mailroom, right? Sort of begat everything else from it. And then, from time to time, I do stuff in Hollywood and do entertainment stuff and video games and basically pop culture stuff, right? Just fun, fun. I mean, if you're gonna have a job, then instead of selling widgets, I'm selling something that's a little bit more sort of in the vernacular of everybody in their day-to-day life, especially in the entertainment side of things. So that's it. Just it's and Jason, there's nothing there's nothing that I've done that I consider to be better or worse than anybody else. I make decisions for Todd, for myself, and I make the best decision I can with whatever skill I have at that moment. And I got to tell you, my decision making was different when I was 20, 40, or now 60. And so I do the best I can with the tools that I have at my disposal and the skill set I have. And it's been a good life, but it doesn't mean that it's a path that I would say, hey, if you don't do it, then you're not succeeding, you're not successful, or any of that. I don't do that. I like to give everybody their chance at it. What I will say as a dad, man, try the shot. You never know if you're going to make the half court shot unless you try the half court shot. I know the odds are against everything that you think about, but you're never going to make it if you don't take the shot. Just take the shot. Who knows, right? Who knows? And if you don't like it, if you make it and you go, it's not for me, you can always go back to where you're at, right? You can always go and do what you were doing. But I needed to become an entrepreneur because I just couldn't take it, right? But I could at any time have pulled the plug and gone back and become an employee. Done. But I'll never do it. I'll die first before I do it because I saw the grass for me on the other side was a lot greener. So I don't know the class you're teaching. What are you trying to get the kids? What are you trying to endow them with?
I try to do a lot with writing skills, critical writing, basically that there's nothing that somebody's going to ask you to do in a class that you can't tackle with writing. Find a mentor text, go through the structure, go through the process, and make it your own eventually. Those are some of the big ideas that I'm usually after.
And I'm sure from time to time you've seen it all, right? Great. Here's a great thing about humans, which I think is the great sort of joy and at times disappointment, is that we're not all created equal. And so you have these stars over here that we're all jealous of,
Right.
right? That you just
Mhm.
they're actually the people that make you want to do something because you can see how good it is. But the people that should kind of keep you motivated are the people over here that are like not too good, right? They're
Mhm.
like, you go,
Mhm.
what? They're a pro? That's I could do that, right? You're never going to catch up to the superstar in your first gig, but you got a chance to get like the bad one over here. And then, so that's about like 10%. I think this is true almost in every every single walk of life. I don't care what category. You got 10% stars, you got 10%, I don't know why they're here. And then there's the rest of us somewhere in between, right? The other 80% of us. But you never know when you're going to slide that way or that way until you
Mhm.
until you sort of make a go of it. So that's it. Let me also say, I'm gonna say one thing. I have found as I've gotten older, Jason, personalities matter. As a matter of fact, I think we underestimate personalities, right? And so other books, you can actually create, at times even, a blueprint of how to get from point A to point B. But if you have an individual who doubts themselves, who doesn't have confidence, who is always looking for somebody else to bring them along, that's difficult, right?
Mhm.
And maybe because it's so easy for me, and I just have the personality to advocate for me, right? Because
Mhm.
I understand completely, Jason. When every morning I wake up, every morning I wake up. There is no person on this planet, and there's 8 billion of us. There's nobody that wakes up in the morning and says, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make Todd McFarlane's life better. That's my goal. That's my goal today. Their goal is to make their lives better, right?
Hmm.
There's only one person that gets to advocate for me, and that's me, right? And so what frustrates me, Jace, is when I meet, you know, people of all ages, but a lot of times people that are a little bit younger, and they don't advocate. They don't advocate for themselves, right? So I've said
Hmm.
before, look, I've seen some stunning talent, and I would like to help, but I can only help to a certain degree, right? And at some point, I don't mean to be harsh, but it's tough love. If you don't give a shit, why should I care more? If you don't care about yourself that much, why should I care more than you do about your life? I don't. Here's what I want to do. I want to be a cheerleader. I want you to go and then let me help you go, right? Because you can get support around you and you can go. But if you're going to be the person who's doubting themselves and going, well, somebody's better than me and somebody's like, no, no, no. Like, raise your hand every single time. I've said before, I can be in a room with 10 artists, 10. And of the 10, if you were to rank us, I'm number 10 out of 10. I'm the worst artist in that room. Somebody comes in and they've got a big, big, big important job. And at the end, you know who gets it? Me. You know how I get it? Simple. I'm the only one that raised their hand.
Yeah.
The other nine that were better than me did not raise their hand. And I got the job. So I got to tell you, I am not where I'm at because I'm a great artist, writer, creator. I think that more than half of the reason that I'm here is because I just raised my hand. Well, I'll do it. I can do it. Yeah, I can do that. Even if I can't, I say yes. And then I figure it out on the fly. But they gave me the opportunity, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's personality, and you can't put that in people, right? So you either have confidence in what you're about to do, or you don't, right? And I
Mhm.
you it doesn't really change much. So it's like you got to have the skill and the personality to go with it. That's a good combo. So, anyways, I hope you've got a couple of them that come along from time to time because of they're spectacular when you see them. So,
Definitely so. Definitely so. That last bonus question is if someone were writing a book about you,
yeah,
or assuming it's your autobiography, you're writing it yourself, and the title is your name, what would the subtitle be?
he died a free man.
I like it.
I,
I
I,
like it.
I started my own companies. Look at you. I was never a guy that would go by the water coolers and complain. I'm not that guy. I just don't have it in me. You either accept the system that you're in or you go and create a different one for yourself. So if I didn't like the way that Marvel was doing comic books and treating me, then I guess I got to go do my own comics, right? If I didn't like the way that people were going to take Spawn and make a toy, I guess I got to go do make my own toys, right?
Mhm.
And at times you just have to accept that. Look at I. It used to be like this: the executives were here and the creative people were here, and I thought it was disproportionate. And of course, when I was younger, I was militant. I'm going, no, man, the artist, man, we
Mhm.
need to be up here. Like, man, take them down. Forget the executives. And now that I'm an old man, I think it's here.
Yeah.
I think you need an equal balance of people that can do the practical stuff, but they can only do the practical stuff if they're getting content coming all the time. So,
Mhm.
uh, so take my toy company. We do hundreds and hundreds of toys, and the artists that are sculpting and painting and all those nice words you just said, very kind. But I needed the people over on this side to do all the logistics, the stuff that people don't want to talk about, the boring stuff, the supply chain stuff that people don't want to talk about, to be able to get that art all the way over here so it got onto a shelf so that you could see it and or buy it and take it home. right? And so it can't just be about the art because if you don't know how to deliver it anywhere, you're just self-indulgent. And if you're good at logistics and business and management, but you got no ideas to go with it, you're self-indulging again, right? We need each other.
Mhm.
And when both of those pieces are working in harmony, it's a good day and we're all equally important at the success. That's the whole tide rising everybody's boat, right? So
Mhm.
that's it. So it's okay. And let me just sort of end with one thing. Don't feel like you have to be able to do everything on a big scale at every level of everything. And so let's take like video games. Lots of people like to play video games. And I've helped be the art director on a couple. There's probably 20 divisions to make one. You got somebody who does the concept drawings of the characters, another
Mhm.
division does the backgrounds, another division does the spell casting, another division is doing the weapons, another division is doing sort of the head flow and the creature. I mean, on and on and on and on to there's literally a division, all it does is it makes energy move. When somebody casts a spell, they can't draw a figure, they can't
Mhm.
draw a house. They can somehow make particles move so it looks magical, right? In the Academy Awards, you can get an Academy Award for sound editing.
Mhm.
You don't have to be the actor, director, producer, writer. Like if you just want to get into Hollywood and succeed and win an Oscar, you can just be really good at figuring out sounds. And you can actually have as many, if not more, Oscars than some big name people that you know about. Okay, like just find your little corner and get really good at it, and then let that take you wherever you want to, right? And for me, I was good at penciling, and now I've got all these other opportunities that came because of that one thing. I just got in the front door, right? So get in the front door, let everything else take its course after that. You're young. Don't have to get there by the time you're 25. So
Love it, including the Grammy.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I greatly appreciate the time, Todd, and appreciate your work, the legacy that you have created, and you and the Image guys showing that comics can be creator owned. Such a win for authors and artists out there as well. So much appreciation, and I do appreciate your time in the middle of your busy schedule.
yeah. All right. Well, you keep doing fighting the good fight, Jason. Right. So the the excitement for me is always tomorrow. Right. Like
Mhm.
I'm a little bit bored about talking about yesterday. So tomorrow is always going to be my best day. But tomorrow is always good too because I always think that the new generation, I'm hoping, is always going to be smarter. Right. I hope that they just figure things out way better than we figured them out and make us kind of look dumb. That would put a smile on my face, right? If they just figured things out better. And I'm just talking about the overall sort of health of the planet in general, right?
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd
Yeah.
be cool. So we didn't figure it out. So don't give us too much credit. That's old folks, right? You guys are the ones that are going to hopefully lead us to the promised land. So
Absolutely. Here's to tomorrow.
that's it.